So I post on Instagram almost every single day. Ever since I started tracking my analytics on Instagram and social media in general, I found a direct correlation with the amount of posts that I do and the amount of reach that I get. I concluded that the more that I post, the more visibility I get on social media. Not only this, when I was tracking my analytics, and by the way, I have this video that kind of sums up all of my findings, I also observed that every time I had an Instagram Reels strategy implemented, it also contributed to more reach. And so with all of those findings, I decided that I was gonna post on Instagram nearly every single day. My post schedule is Sundays to Fridays, and Saturdays is kind of my only day off because based on my analytics, I know that most of my followers aren't really on Instagram on Saturdays anyways. But even with that post schedule, most of you guys might be asking, well, Vanessa, how do you even keep up? Because I know that some people, even though they have a social media manager or another person on their team helping them out with their social media strategy, posting every day is still kind of a stretch. And so that's why I wanted to create today's video. Hi, my name is Vanessa, and one thing that I'm really good at is helping people get visible using social media strategies and get paid using business strategies. In today's video, let's talk about how to get you more visible by posting on Instagram. Specifically, let's go over how I come up with content on a quarterly basis, how I batch my content, and how I also schedule my content so that you, the viewer or the follower, you're able to get amazing content from me every single day. So with that being said, let's dive right into the video. All right, so let's talk about step one, which is getting content inspiration in the first place. Now, what I find is that there are three ways that I get most of my content from. The first one is through reading, is through expanding my knowledge, is through actually doing things in my business and keeping track of the little ideas that I have that kind of come up as I get more experience. So for instance, if I'm running through a problem in my business, I'm definitely gonna write about it. Or if I notice problems within my clients inside the Boss Gram Academy, my paid program, I also write about it. I am really avid on documenting my journey and making sure that I keep track of the lessons that I've been learning throughout this process of building a business. And so what I do is every time I have an idea, I pull out my trusty notepad and I write it down. Now my notepad is kind of a disorganized mess, but what I've learned in the past is that it's better to write down your content ideas as they come to you versus trying to sit down and think of all of the content ideas that you need to batch. So for instance, if I'm having dinner and all of a sudden a content idea comes up, I'm gonna pull up my notepad and write it down, and then I'll organize it later. So this is the number one way that I get my content from, is from my own experience and also from consuming books, podcasts, even listening to music can also inspire content ideas as well. Now, the second way that I get content ideas is something that maybe you have never even thought of, and that is looking at my past content. This tip is gonna be really relevant for those of you who have been doing content for a while. Something that I do is I look at my old captions that I've written, and I kind of see how I can repurpose those captions. For instance, this is a caption that I wrote, and then this is a post that I wrote a year later copying the exact same caption. Or what I might do is take one-liners from my captions and then turn them into standalone content pieces. You'll be really surprised by the amount of past content that you've done that truly needs to be resurfaced because your audience members don't always remember your previous content, and especially if you are trying to grow your platforms, you're gonna be having new subscribers, new followers every single day that have never seen your old content before. And so remember this, good content is good content. It doesn't matter if you posted something a year ago, 2 years ago. If you knew that it performed 2 years ago or a year ago, definitely try to make it into a new content piece or just repurpose it all together. This is where a good chunk of my content ideas actually come from, and that's from my previous content that I've done months ago and even years ago. And here's a fun fact. The content that I repurposed that I posted years ago actually perform better now than they did the first time that I posted it. And so you definitely want to comb back on your previous content and see how you can repurpose it for later. Now, the third way that I like to get content ideas is from TikTok. And the reason why is because I have an Instagram Reel strategy where we post IG Reels every single week. And so for me, I'm on TikTok anyways as a consumer. I love the platform. I'm on it every single night. And so in the meantime, if I see a content piece that I think could apply to my business, or I see a trending sound that would be really interesting for me to use, what I'll end up doing is I'll heart the video, I'll have it in my liked videos within TikTok, and to take it a step further, I'll actually copy the link to that TikTok, put it in my notepad, and also put a note to myself on what type of content I might want to create with that specific sound or that specific effect from that TikTok video. Now that we talked about on how I get content, now the next thing is to batch the content for Instagram. Now the thing with Instagram is that it's very recency based, and especially with an IG Reels strategy, it's kind of important to still stick to some of the trends. And so I make sure I don't batch content too much in advance. Versus for my YouTube strategy or my podcast strategy, I usually batch content about a quarter in advance, so 90 days in advance. Now when it comes to batching content for Instagram, I have a slightly different frequency of batching than I do with YouTube and podcast. Now because YouTube and podcast are so labor intensive, meaning that it takes a lot of my effort to film videos or record podcast episodes and coordinate guest experts and all that stuff, I batch my content about 90 days in advance. Versus on Instagram, I batch about 30 days in advance minimum. And so what that looks like is once a month, I go onto my desktop and I review my notepad. So I look at all of the brain dumps that I've had on my notepad and kind of pick and choose which ones I actually want to post on Instagram for that month. So what you'll notice on my Instagram feed is I do a lot of quotable moments. Here, what I do is I'll look through my notepad, look at all my old captions, and kind of see which pieces I want to share. What I'll then do is I'll go on my Twitter page and I'll just post the content. This is where I kind of get that screenshot to make content like this. I'll then mass post all of the one-liners or two-liners that I want to have on my graphic, put it on Twitter, then I'll screenshot all of these and then upload them to my desktop, in which I then move on to Canva, and then I create those quote posts directly on Canva. Other types of posts that I like to create are posts like this, where it's a carousel post with a lot of text. And the reason why I like to do these content pieces is because sometimes I find that the caption I write might be too long and could be better served as a carousel, but also for readability, I find that I get more engagement off of carousel posts than I do with posts that just have a long caption. Because the truth is that some people gloss over that caption portion, versus when you break up your caption into a carousel like this, the first slide, if it already hooks them, they're gonna keep reading. And so that's why I am a huge fan of creating carousels. So what I'll then do is format the caption on my notepad and then go onto my cell phone, and then that's where I'll take screenshots. Then once I create the screenshots, I'll then go into ViscoCam, make it 4x5 dimension for each slide, and then save it to my phone. Then I just schedule that as a carousel. And we'll talk about scheduling carousels in the next step. Now the third common content piece that I do is Instagram Reels. Now my Instagram Reel strategy is basically documented in this video right here, so definitely check it out if you want more in-depth step-by-step instructions. But essentially what I do is all of my Instagram Reels are filmed on TikTok, because I'm also trying to grow my TikTok account as well. So I'll pick 1 day or 2 days to then batch all of the IG Reels that I originally had planned in my notepad. And on those 2 days, I'll make sure to change out my outfit so not all of the TikToks look like I filmed all in one single day. So that's kind of what I do when it comes to IG Reels / TikTok strategy and how I batch that content. And again, if you want more information on how I batch content for IG Reels and TikTok specifically, make sure you check out this video that I have right here as well. Now the thing that you want to know about when it comes to IG Reels and TikTok batching is I'll film all of the videos in 1 day. However, what I will do is I'll save it in drafts, so I won't publish it yet. And when it comes to actually editing the videos, I'll choose another day to mass edit all of the content. And the great thing is that within my notepad, I already kind of have an idea of what I'm going to be editing anyways. And even if I don't worry about it, because as I'm filming, all I need to do is dance, point, do whatever, and I can always figure out what angle I want the video to be later on. So never worry too much about TikTok and IG Reel batching. Just make sure that you actually create the videos and then figure it out later. Now the fourth type of content that I post a lot is IGTVs. This is basically where I reshare portions of my podcast videos or portions of my YouTube videos. And the reason why I do this is because I want people to know that I have other pieces of content that exist outside of Instagram. And so the call to action for these IGTV pieces is always to direct people to either my podcast or my YouTube videos. And so what I do with this is I actually use a service called Repurpose House, and what they specialize in is actually repurposing content that you already have. Now, when it comes to using the service, I have a whole dedicated video about it, so make sure you check out this video right here where you get the step-by-step breakdown on my experience with Repurpose House and how I leverage this. But just know that I do use a third-party platform in order to repurpose content, and that's kind of how I create all of the IGTVs that you see on my Instagram feed. Now, of course, you don't have to use a service like Repurpose House, and in fact, this video that I have right here shows you a cheaper way to do it, or you can even outsource this to your video editor as well. Now, so far we've talked about how I batch content, but how do I actually mass schedule it so that I don't have to be always on my phone scheduling content every single day? Well, my little secret is using the Creator Studio within Facebook. I used to use Later, but now I have completely transitioned most of my posting and automation using Creator Studio. And here's why. I like using Instagram Creator Studio because I'm able to schedule my IGTVs. So all the IGTVs that you see on my Instagram feed, I actually don't have to manually post them anymore, and instead I use the Creator Studio to schedule them. And it's so simple. All you have to do is open up your Instagram Creator Studio within Facebook, then you go on the Post IGTV feature, and then you're gonna be able to upload your IGTV, add the title, add the description, and then schedule when you wanna post it on your Instagram. The second reason why I've completely moved over to the Creator Studio is you can also schedule carousel posts. For the longest time when I was using Later, I was still manually uploading my carousel posts. And thanks to Later, I got the reminders, but it still wasn't necessarily automated. Ever since switching to Creator Studio, all I have to do is create a post, and within that, I'm able to mass upload all the content for that carousel post. Then I'm also able to write the caption, put it all in, reorganize and reshuffle all of the slides, review it, and then afterwards schedule the content that I want to be uploaded. That way, all the content pieces are virtually hands-free and it's all automated throughout the month, which is amazing. Now, the one downside with a lot of scheduling platforms, including the Creator Studio, is that there is no way to schedule IG Reels or TikToks yet, or at least at the time when I'm filming this video. And so that part is still manual. After I batch film all of the content and we batch edit all of the content as well in TikTok, we then kind of leave it in drafts, and then we follow a very specific upload time and day. That's when we manually start publishing the things to TikTok. Once it's published to TikTok, we then save that, and then we use a tool to remove the TikTok watermark. So I'm gonna share my screen and show you exactly how to do that. So this is Snaptik, where you can remove the TikTok watermark. What you're gonna do is you're gonna want to paste the link of your TikTok here. Then once you paste it, you're gonna hit download. Then you're gonna hit download. And as you can see with this version right here, there is no TikTok watermark anymore. And so once we remove the watermark, that's when we can just re-upload everything to IG Reels, and you can also save the things to drafts as well, especially if you have a different upload schedule on IG Reels versus TikTok. Now, obviously it's still manual. However, because everything else when it comes to our carousel posts and our IGTVs are scheduled out, we're able to carve out more time to do this type of manual work. But hopefully, fingers crossed, one day we'll be able to schedule IG Reels. Now, something that I mentioned earlier on in this video is that I'm really good at helping people get visible using social media strategies and get paid using business strategies. And in this video specifically, we covered a lot of different ideas where you can actually maximize your content workflow so that you can get more visible on social media. But what I found is that regardless of how many social media strategies you learn, if you don't know how to monetize your content and bring sales to your door, you're kind of like swimming in an ocean and paddling in the same spot, but not really heading anywhere. And so if you want to learn how you actually can take this video a step further and monetize your content, then make sure you visit my free training at www.followerstoclients.com. In this training, I actually go through a lot of more in-depth strategies to help you make your content work for you so that you can turn your followers into clients on social media and make the income that you deserve. And so again, the link is in the description box below and also in the comment section as well at www.followerstoclients.com. I also post a lot of videos on marketing, entrepreneurship, social media strategy, and coaching. So while you wait for next week's video, make sure you check out these two videos that I have right here. I promise they won't disappoint, and I really hope that you're able to get a lot of strategies that not just help you get visible, but also help you get paid. As always, guys, I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video.